Welcome to my channel, and today I want to share a story that is full of love, courage, and unexpected twists. A tale about a young woman who, against all odds, finds herself in a world of wealth and privilege, faces challenges she never imagined, and discovers the true meaning of trust and devotion, and how one brave choice can change a life forever. So, let's start. Who are you, and what are you doing at my table? The sharp voice startled the trembling girl, who had reached out only for a piece of bread, and she immediately pulled her hand back, apologizing repeatedly, calling herself foolish, ready to leave at once, when suddenly another calm but firm voice interrupted, asking what was happening, and before she could explain, a woman accused her of stealing their food, making the girl bow her head in shame and insist she would go. But the man stopped her gently and said she looked hungry and could eat without fear, which surprised everyone, especially when the woman beside him hesitated before asking whether they could invite others in need from the neighborhood as well, earning a grateful but cautious smile from the girl who said she had already taken enough. But before she could escape, the man asked if she needed work, if she had anything to offer, explaining that they needed help in their large home. And just like that, what sounded like the beginning of a fairy tale took a turn no one expected, because this was not a story filled with magic, but one built on pain, secrets, and choices. And so the girl, now called Emily, found herself standing inside the grand home of Daniel Carter, a wealthy businessman preparing for his wedding to Grace Turner, a woman admired for her beauty but known for her sharp tongue. And although Grace openly mocked Emily's background and doubted her worth, Daniel insisted on hiring her, claiming the upcoming wedding left no time to manage the household. And despite Grace losing her appetite and protesting, Daniel's decision was final, and so Emily stayed, believing peace had finally entered her life after weeks of honest work, until one evening when she heard a familiar voice that froze her blood, a voice she had fled from long ago, a man she had escaped and sworn never to see again. And when she turned, she nearly dropped what she was holding. Trembling as Mark, Daniel's trusted business partner, greeted her casually, unaware of the terror he stirred within her. And though Daniel tried to introduce them properly, Emily begged to leave the room, claiming she felt unwell, and Mark noticed her shaking, asking what was wrong, but Daniel reassured her that she was safe here and that no one would ever harm her under his roof. Words that made her eyes sting with emotion. And later, when she begged Mark not to reveal her presence to anyone from her past, he promised secrecy, surprising her with kindness and trust. And as days passed, Emily helped prepare Grace's wedding attire, offering small adjustments that transformed the outfit completely. Yet Grace dismissed her own beauty while praising Emily's, unknowingly revealing cracks in her relationship with Daniel, who soon confided in Emily that he felt Grace's love had faded, that her affection seemed tied to money rather than sincerity. And though Emily tried to calm his doubts, her own heart began to feel something dangerous growing, especially as Daniel spent more time with her than with his fiancée, while Grace appeared only when she needed cash, and Emily had no idea that a nightmare was waiting just ahead, disguised as celebration, promises, and a wedding altar. The day of the rehearsal arrived, and Emily found herself standing nervously in the grand hall where Daniel and Grace were preparing for their wedding, the air thick with tension and anticipation. Daniel asked if he could practice his vows with her, unaware of how much the sight of her stirred his heart. And as he spoke, telling her how she had conquered his thoughts from the very first moment they met, how he dreamed of holding her hand for the rest of his life, Emily felt warmth and fear collide. Realizing that what she had thought was a fleeting connection had become the center of his world, and though he stumbled over his words, improvising because he had not written them down, every glance and every gesture spoke of a sincerity Grace had never offered. And yet before they could fully confront their feelings, chaos erupted. Grace burst into the room, accusing Emily of sabotage, tearing at her dress in panic, claiming that the wedding was ruined. And Daniel's confusion turned to anger and protective instinct all at once, as Emily tried to explain that she could not watch him marry someone who did not truly love him, that the perfect fairy tale image of rich man and perfect fiancé was only an illusion. While Daniel struggled to mediate, knowing that Emily's presence had been a secret and fearing the fallout with his partner Mark, and when Emily tried to leave, Daniel followed, refusing to let her go, promising that he would not allow her to be dragged back into a life of pain or fear, that they would be together, no matter the obstacles. Even as Mark confronted Daniel, furious at the interference and threatening consequences. The truth spilled out in a storm of accusations and confessions, bruises and evidence of control, lies about loyalty and selfishness. And finally, Emily's courage shone through as she stood firm, declaring that she would never return to the life she had escaped, that her choice was freedom, love, and honesty. And Daniel, realizing that he had been about to make the wrong choice at the altar, felt relief and hope intertwine as he cancelled the wedding, refusing to allow vows to be exchanged under deception, even when Grace tried to manipulate him with promises of wealth, showing that no riches could outweigh truth and genuine affection. And in that moment, amidst the ruined decorations and the echoes of confrontation, Emily and Daniel found a fragile yet undeniable connection, the kind built on trust, respect, and the courage to follow one's heart. A love that would grow only stronger as they faced the challenges of life together, proving that mistakes could be corrected, that fairy tales could exist not in perfection, but in choosing the right person, at the right time, with honesty and devotion. After the chaos of the cancelled wedding, Emily wandered the city streets, her thoughts a storm of relief, fear, and confusion, her footsteps guided more by instinct than direction, until she found herself standing before the grand estate once more, drawn inexplicably to Daniel, who had followed, refusing to let her slip away again. And when their eyes met, the tension melted into something deeper as Daniel pulled her close, promising that she would never be alone, never subjected to fear or cruelty. And Emily, feeling both safe and cherished, allowed herself to hope, realizing that their connection had blossomed into something far beyond mere companionship, that the trials, the misunderstandings, and the near heartbreaks had only revealed the strength and depth of their bond. While Mark, witnessing the sincerity between them, reluctantly acknowledged that he had misjudged Emily, recognizing her courage and the way her presence had transformed Daniel's heart. And as they returned inside the estate together, the remnants of the wedding chaos gave way to a quiet, tentative celebration of truth, where vows were no longer hollow promises, but heartfelt declarations of loyalty and love. And Emily, now fully integrated into the Carter household, found herself not as a servant or a temporary helper, but as a partner in life, someone whose worth was undeniable and whose past no longer defined her. While Daniel, freed from the pressures of a loveless engagement, embraced the opportunity to rebuild his life honestly, learning that true happiness came not from appearances or social expectation, but from recognizing and honoring genuine affection. And together, they began to make plans not for a wedding staged for others, but for a life lived in authenticity, understanding that mistakes, while painful, were lessons, that courage was often found in leaving behind what was comfortable but untrue, and that love, real, enduring love, was always worth fighting for. As Emily and Daniel stood hand in hand, looking out over the city skyline from the estate balcony, feeling that despite the trials, despite the lies and fear, they had finally chosen each other freely, fully, and forever. Proving that even in a world filled with pretense and expectation, a fairy tale could exist when two people refused to settle for anything less than honesty, trust, and the warmth of a heart that truly belonged to them. In the days that followed, Emily and Daniel settled into a rhythm that felt new but natural, sharing moments that slowly stitched the wounds of their pasts while revealing hidden joys. Daniel showed Emily the intricacies of his life, from managing the estate to overseeing his businesses, always including her in decisions, respecting her opinions, and valuing her insight, which made Emily feel both empowered and cherished, while Emily brought warmth, laughter, and a sense of grounding to Daniel's previously hectic and lonely existence. And as they spent quiet evenings in the Grand Library, talking about dreams, fears, and hopes for the future, they discovered how much they complemented each other. Daniel's determination balancing Emily's empathy and her optimism softening his occasional harshness. Yet outside the safety of the estate, challenges still awaited as whispers about Daniel's broken engagement spread through social circles, prompting judgment, gossip, and subtle attempts to manipulate the pair. But Emily, having endured hardship before, refused to be intimidated, and Daniel, having learned the cost of compromise in the wrong relationships, grew protective in ways both tender and firm, ensuring that neither past mistakes nor external pressures would undo what they were building together. And amidst the growing trust between them, unexpected allies appeared in the form of neighbors and friends who had witnessed Emily's courage, people who offered support, small gestures of kindness, in the reassurance that love born from honesty could withstand scrutiny. And over time, Daniel and Emily began planning celebrations of their own, not for appearances, but for genuine joy, inviting only those who shared their sincerity and letting go of societal expectations, which brought relief and laughter that echoed through the hallways, filling rooms that had once been spaces of tension and fear. And as seasons changed outside, inside their home, Emily and Daniel's connection deepened, showing that love was not only about grand gestures, but also quiet consistency, shared responsibility, and the courage to face the world together, with the knowledge that every trial they endured only strengthened their bond, and that their story, once shadowed by fear, control, and deception, had transformed into a living testament to resilience, trust, and the beauty of two people choosing each other against all odds, proving that a fairy tale could exist, not in perfection, but in the deliberate, brave choice to love honestly, wholly, and without compromise. As weeks turned into months, Emily and Daniel's bond only strengthened, their days filled with small routines and shared responsibilities that deepened trust and affection, from tending to the estate gardens together, laughing as flowers refused to bloom on schedule, to quiet evenings where they planned projects for the community, helping those who had once been overlooked, including families and individuals who reminded Emily of the struggles she had faced. And through it all, Daniel grew increasingly aware of the transformation within himself, realizing that wealth and status had never provided him with the fulfillment that Emily's presence did. That true happiness came from connection, kindness, and the courage to stand with someone who inspires growth rather than fear. While Emily, once timid and uncertain, discovered confidence in her own abilities, feeling empowered not only to manage her work, but also to influence decisions that affected many lives. And as their lives intertwined, old threats and unresolved issues began to surface, including confrontations with Grace, who tried to manipulate Daniel with ultimatums and social pressure. Yet Emily, easy, calm resilience, and Daniel EDC's unwavering honesty allowed them to navigate these conflicts without compromise, setting boundaries firmly while maintaining dignity. And in quieter moments, they reflected on the journey that had brought them together. The unexpected meeting in the park, the hesitant offers of kindness, the fear of past traumas, and the courage to choose each other over uncertainty and societal expectation. And each night, as they walked along the estate's balcony, overlooking the city lights, they felt a profound sense of gratitude, knowing that love had found them not in convenience or superficiality, but in the crucible of trials, laughter, fear, and hope, and that every obstacle they had overcome together had woven a deeper, unbreakable thread between them. Solidifying the truth that a real-life fairy tale does not require perfection, but thrives on honesty, resilience, empathy, and the willingness to fight for love, to protect it, and to nurture it into something enduring. And as Emily rested her hand in Daniel's, watching the city sparkle below, they both knew that no matter what storms might come, they would face them together. That their story, born from hardship and courage, had become a testament to the power of choice, the necessity of trust, and the beauty of finding someone who sees you, fully accepts you, and walks with you willingly, every step of the way, turning a life that could have been ordinary into one that was extraordinary, through love, commitment, and unwavering devotion. As the seasons shifted, Emily and Daniel faced new challenges that tested the foundation of their love. From unexpected financial complications in Daniel's business to old acquaintances attempting to sow doubt between them. Yet each trial only reinforced the strength of their bond as they learned to communicate openly, to trust instinct and heart over rumor and fear, and to face adversity together with unwavering support. And one afternoon, as they prepared for a small gathering to celebrate their home and their shared life, Emily found herself reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought her from uncertainty and fear to belonging and joy, recalling the first hesitant moments when Daniel had offered her food and kindness, the tumult of emotions during the wedding fiasco, the tense confrontations with Grace and Mark, and the way every hardship had revealed truths about themselves and each other. teaching lessons about courage, integrity, and the enduring power of love. And Daniel, observing Emily's quiet strength, realized that the happiness he had sought through status and wealth had pale comparison to the fulfillment of walking alongside someone who inspired, challenged, and loved him unconditionally. And as the guests arrived, neighbors, friends, and those who had supported Emily through her journey, they witnessed a couple whose connection radiated authenticity, warmth, and resilience. And in the midst of laughter, shared stories, and the glow of candlelight, Emily and Daniel made silent promises to continue choosing each other every day, to honor the vulnerability and courage that had led them here, and to nurture their love not as a fleeting fairy tale but as a living testament to the power of honesty, empathy, and unwavering devotion. And in the quiet aftermath, as they stood on the balcony watching the city lights flicker like distant stars, Daniel turned to Emily, taking her hand, and whispered words of gratitude and admiration, acknowledging that she had changed his life in ways no wealth or privilege ever could. And Emily, feeling the depth of his sincerity, realized that the story she had once thought of as impossible, the story of a girl from humble beginnings finding love with a man who truly valued her, was no longer just a dream, but a reality they had built together. And together they understood that true happiness came not from perfection or societal approval, but from the courage to face fear, to stand firm in one's truth, and to embrace the person who chooses you fully, wholly, and without reservation. And in that shared understanding, surrounded by love, laughter, and the quiet hum of a life well lived, Emily and Daniel knew that the most extraordinary stories are the ones written not in grandeur, but in the moments of trust, sacrifice, and devotion that create an unbreakable bond, and that their journey, though fraught with fear and uncertainty, had blossomed into a life that was more beautiful than any fairy tale, proving that love, when chosen with honesty and courage, can overcome every obstacle and flourish into something timeless and true. Over the following months, Emily and Daniel's life together became a balance of quiet domesticity and meaningful engagement with the world beyond the estate, as they organized charitable events, helped families in need, and created spaces where those who had once struggled could find comfort and hope. And through each of these endeavors, their love deepened, strengthened by shared purpose and mutual respect. While Emily discovered talents she had never known she possessed, from managing logistics to offering guidance on how to best support the community, gaining confidence with every success and learning to navigate challenges with calm intelligence. And Daniel, observing her growth, felt a profound admiration that went beyond attraction, recognizing in her not only a partner, but a true equal whose values, courage, and insight complemented his own. And despite the occasional social friction caused by lingering resentment from Grace or others who disapproved of the unconventional nature of their story, the couple maintained an unshakable focus on honesty and integrity, demonstrating through example that love rooted in authenticity is resilient to external pressures. And as they spent evenings walking through the gardens they had designed together, watching the sun set over the city skyline, Emily often reflected on the incredible transformation of her life. From the girl who had once wandered aimlessly in fear and shame, to a woman whose heart and mind were fully engaged in shaping a future filled with hope, purpose, and mutual care. And Daniel, holding her hand and feeling the warmth of her presence, understood that the real fairy tale was not in wealth, status, or spectacle, but in the daily choices to honor, protect, and nurture the bond they shared, to confront difficulties with courage, and to celebrate the small triumphs and joys that made life meaningful. And together, as they planned new ventures, explored new passions, and created a home filled with laughter, learning, and love, they realized that their story, once marked by uncertainty, fear, and unexpected twists, had evolved into a living testament to the enduring power of trust, commitment, and genuine affection, proving that when two people choose each other with clarity, honesty, and courage, even the most complicated beginnings can lead to extraordinary, lasting happiness. And in these moments, Emily and Daniel felt a peace and fulfillment that neither had ever known. A confirmation that love, when nurtured and respected, has the power to transform lives completely and permanently. As the months passed into a year, Emily and Daniel's life together became a rich tapestry of shared experiences, from small daily rituals like cooking meals together and tending to their home, to larger undertakings, such as restoring parts of the estate and supporting community projects that reflected their values. And through every challenge, unexpected visitors, business crises, lingering whispers from those still skeptical of their bond, they relied on one another, finding strength in the deep trust and affection that had grown steadily since their first encounter. And Emily, once timid and hesitant, flourished into a confident woman whose voice and insight were sought after by friends, neighbors, and even Daniel's associates, while Daniel, observing her courage and wisdom, felt a profound gratitude for the way she had reshaped his life, showing him that love is not a grand gesture, but a consistent choice, a patient understanding, and a willingness to face adversity hand in hand. And together, they created traditions that reflected their values, celebrating not only personal milestones, but the successes and joys of those around them, reinforcing the idea that happiness multiplies when shared. And one evening, as they walked along the balcony under a sky painted with stars, Emily reflected on the improbable journey that had led her here, the frightening moments of uncertainty, the acts of kindness that had offered her refuge, the courage it had taken to leave behind a life of fear, and the unexpected joy of discovering a love that was genuine, patient, and unwavering. And Daniel, noticing the quiet smile on her face, understood that their story, once shadowed by tension, fear, and societal expectation, had transformed into a life that was real, vibrant, and profoundly satisfying, proving that even when beginnings are uncertain, when obstacles seem insurmountable, and when fairy tales feel impossible, the right choices, made with honesty and heart, can lead to a life filled with love, purpose, and enduring happiness. And in that moment, as they stood together, the city lights sparkling below and the cool night air surrounding them, Emily and Daniel silently acknowledged that the most extraordinary journeys are not those without difficulty, but those in which two people, despite fear and doubt, choose each other, nurture their bond, and face the world together. Knowing that love, when real, patient, and courageous, is a force that can transform lives, heal old wounds, and create a story worth telling for a lifetime. As Emily and Daniel settled further into their life together, they began to explore the world beyond their estate in ways they had never imagined, taking trips to neighboring towns to meet families and individuals who could benefit from their support, learning from each encounter and strengthening not only their bond, but also their understanding of responsibility, empathy, and community. And in these travels, Emily discovered that her experiences had given her a unique perspective, one that combined resilience with compassion, allowing her to connect with people in a way Daniel could not alone, while Daniel, witnessing her skill and kindness, felt an admiration that went deeper than love, recognizing that she had transformed him by showing the meaning of partnership. And through these adventures, they encountered challenges ranging from logistical obstacles in their charitable work to moments of unexpected danger, which tested their resourcefulness, patience, and mutual trust. Yet every trial only brought them closer, reinforcing their commitment to face life's uncertainties together. And as they returned home each day, exhausted but fulfilled, they found comfort in small routines, sharing quiet dinners, tending to their gardens, reading together in the library, and discussing the lessons they had learned, which created a rhythm of life that was rich with meaning and joy. And through all of it, Emily could not help but reflect on the journey that had led her from fear, confusion, and uncertainty to a place of empowerment and love, realizing that the kindness of strangers, the courage to escape past dangers, and the willingness to embrace honesty had all combined to bring her to this life. And Daniel, in turn, found himself forever changed, understanding that wealth and status alone could never create the happiness he now experienced, which came from shared purpose, mutual respect, and the quiet strength of choosing the right person every day. Despite the happiness Emily and Daniel had cultivated, life was never without its challenges, and as they continued to grow closer, subtle tensions began to surface, both from outside forces and within themselves, testing the resilience of their relationship. Old acquaintances from Daniel's past, including business rivals and social critics, sought to undermine their bond through rumors and manipulations, while Emily occasionally wrestled with insecurities born from her humble beginnings, worrying that she might never fully belong in a world of privilege. Yet Daniel's unwavering support and the deep trust they had nurtured allowed them to face these pressures together. And in the process, they learned the importance of open communication, patience, and empathy, confronting not only external challenges, but also the quiet fears and doubts that sometimes surfaced in moments of stress. And through each trial, they found ways to strengthen their connection, whether through long conversations under the stars, shared problem-solving during estate management, or quiet reassurances in moments of vulnerability. And Emily's confidence continued to grow as she realized that her value was measured not by wealth, status, or perception, but by the courage, intelligence, and kindness she brought to every situation. While Daniel became increasingly aware of how much he had underestimated the strength that true partnership could provide, and together, they created routines that reinforced love, stability, and trust, incorporating daily acts of kindness, joint decision-making, and shared reflection, ensuring that every success and setback became a shared experience, rather than a point of isolation. And as the weeks passed, the couple began to notice subtle shifts in the people around them. Neighbors expressing gratitude for their generosity, employees respecting Emily's insights, and friends acknowledging the authenticity of their bond, which provided reassurance that they were not only thriving as a couple, but also inspiring positive change in their wider world. And in quiet moments, as they watched the sun dip below the horizon from the estate balcony, they both recognized that love, when nurtured with honesty, courage, and patience, had the power to transform even the most complicated and uncertain beginnings into a life rich with meaning, happiness, and enduring fulfillment. As Emily and Daniel continued to navigate life together, they encountered new opportunities and responsibilities that tested both their personal growth and their partnership. From managing large community initiatives to mentoring younger individuals who looked up to them, and each experience allowed them to deepen their understanding of one another while reinforcing the trust and love that had brought them together. And through these shared endeavors, Emily discovered not only her own strengths, but also the power of influence when combined with integrity and empathy, as she guided others with patience and encouragement, while Daniel learned that true leadership was not about command or authority, but about listening, collaborating, and nurturing those around him. And amidst these endeavors, moments of tension occasionally arose, whether from conflicting priorities, unexpected setbacks, or lingering insecurities. Yet each challenge became an opportunity to strengthen their bond, to communicate openly, and to reaffirm their commitment to face life together. And as they spent quiet evenings reflecting on their progress, they shared stories of past struggles, laughter, and dreams for the future, recognizing how far they had come from the days of uncertainty and fear. And Emily, in particular, marveled at the transformation in her life. From a young woman unsure of her place in the world, to someone who had not only found love, but also discovered purpose, influence, and respect. While Daniel often found himself in awe of her resilience, compassion, and insight, realizing that the happiness and fulfillment he now experienced were not the result of wealth or status, but the direct outcome of their shared choices, honesty, and unwavering support for one another. And as the sun set behind the estate, casting golden light across the gardens they had nurtured together, they both silently acknowledged that their story, once fraught with fear, uncertainty, and challenges, had blossomed into a life full of love, meaning, and connection. Proving that a true fairy tale exists not in perfection, but in the courage to choose the right person, to trust, to forgive, and to build a shared future rooted in authenticity, empathy, and enduring devotion. Over time, Emily and Daniel's bond grew even stronger as they faced both anticipated and unexpected challenges that tested their resilience, patience, and devotion, from sudden changes in the estate's management to unforeseen emergencies affecting the community projects they had invested so much in. And with every obstacle, they discovered new depths of trust and reliance on each other, learning to anticipate needs, offer support without hesitation, and communicate with clarity and compassion, while Emily's confidence and sense of purpose continued to flourish, enabling her to take initiative and lead projects that impacted many lives positively. And Daniel, witnessing her growth and the way she balanced strength with empathy, felt an admiration and love deeper than anything he had known before, recognizing that true fulfillment came not from societal expectation, appearances, or material gain, but from shared purpose, integrity, and emotional intimacy. And yet, even as their lives thrived, echoes from the past occasionally resurfaced. Reminders of fears Emily had once faced, lingering doubts from Daniel's social circle, in subtle attempts by former associates to disrupt their harmony. But each test was met with courage, clarity, and unwavering support as they chose to confront challenges together, rather than alone and in quiet moments, whether walking through the gardens they had cultivated, sharing late-night conversations under the starlit sky, or reflecting on how far they had come. They both understood that every choice they had made, the courage to trust, to leave fear behind, and to embrace love, had led them to a life richer, more meaningful, and more extraordinary than any they could have imagined. And as they planned for the future, with new projects, adventures, and opportunities on the horizon, they did so with the knowledge that their story, once fraught with uncertainty, obstacles, and moments of despair, had transformed into a testament to the power of honesty, resilience, devotion, and the quiet, enduring strength of two people committed to facing the world together, proving that even the most complicated beginnings can blossom into a life of lasting love, purpose, and fulfillment. When hearts are open, choices are guided by truth, and partners are chosen with care and courage. As Emily and Daniel moved forward in their life together, they found that the love they had cultivated was more than an emotion. It was a living, breathing force that shaped their daily decisions, interactions, and the way they approached the world. And through shared experiences, from the quiet mornings spent tending to the estate and its gardens, to evenings devoted to planning charitable initiatives and mentoring young people, they realized that true partnership was built not only on passion, but also on mutual respect, trust, and the willingness to face difficulties together. And Emily, reflecting on her journey from a life of uncertainty and fear to one of empowerment and love, understood that the kindness and patience she had received from Daniel and others had been pivotal in shaping her confidence and purpose. While Daniel, observing her growth, recognized that the depth of his admiration and love for her had grown beyond what he had ever imagined possible, that she had become his anchor, his confidant, and the most vital part of his life. And as challenges arose, from managing the estate, navigating community needs, or handling occasional interference from those who doubted their bond, they approached each situation as a team, relying on open communication, thoughtful problem-solving, and unwavering support. And in these moments, Emily's resilience and insight often guided them through uncertainty, while Daniel's experience, foresight, and protective nature provided balance and reassurance. And together, they created a home and a life filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of belonging, not only for themselves, but for those around them, demonstrating through example that love, honesty, and courage could overcome fear, judgment, and adversity. And as they shared quiet evenings on the balcony, watching the sunset reflect across the city and the gardens they had nurtured, they both felt an enduring sense of gratitude and fulfillment, knowing that their story, once fraught with fear, deception, and uncertainty, had blossomed into a life rich with connection, meaning, and purpose, and that the true fairy tale was not in wealth, status, or perfection, but in choosing each other fully, honestly, and courageously, every single day. And in that shared understanding, Emily and Daniel knew that their love was a force capable of enduring anything, a foundation upon which they could build a future filled with hope, joy, and unwavering devotion. With time, Emily and Daniel's life reached a rhythm that was both comforting and exhilarating. A life built on trust, love, and shared purpose. And as they reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them together, from Emily's uncertain and fearful beginnings, through the chaos, misunderstandings, and challenges of the wedding ordeal, to the patient building of trust, courage, and connection, they understood how every trial, every moment of doubt, and every choice had led them to this extraordinary reality. And together, they nurtured a home filled with warmth, laughter, and meaningful work, from supporting neighbors and mentoring young people to engaging in community projects that reflected their values, while simultaneously enjoying quiet moments of personal connection, whether through long conversations under the stars, peaceful walks in the gardens, or simple acts of daily kindness. And in these moments, they realized that love, in its truest form, was not a fleeting feeling, but a living commitment. A conscious decision to stand by each other through fear, joy, challenges, and triumphs. And as they planned for the future, dreaming of travel's further charitable work and the legacy they could leave together, they did so with the knowledge that their bond had been tested, proven and strengthened beyond what either could have imagined. And Emily, once a timid girl, unsure of her place in the world, now stood as a confident, empowered woman whose heart and mind had been fully embraced, while Daniel, once focused on wealth and status, had discovered the profound fulfillment that comes from true partnership, empathy, and devotion. And as they held hands on the estate balcony, watching the sunset bathe the city in golden light, they silently acknowledged that their story, born from uncertainty, fear, and unexpected encounters, had transformed into a life of authenticity, joy, and enduring love, proving that real fairy tales are not about perfection, wealth, or appearances, but about courage, honesty, choosing each other wholeheartedly, and building a shared life rooted in trust, compassion, and the unwavering belief that together anything is possible. And in that moment, Emily and Daniel smiled at one another, hearts full, knowing that they had found not only love, but a home in each other, and that their journey with all its trials and triumphs had led them to a future brighter than any dream they had ever dared to imagine. Thank you for reading this story with me. This tale reminds us that life may not always be easy, but courage, honesty, and choosing the right person can lead to true happiness. Every challenge we face teaches us something valuable, and love built on trust and respect can overcome any obstacle. I hope this story inspired you to believe in yourself and the power of making the right choices in life. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories full of heart, hope, and life lessons. See you in the next story. If you like this story, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share with your friends and family so you don't miss the next powerful story coming your way. Drop a heart in comment, like and subscribe my channel, and visit my channel for more interesting story videos.